Well, would you look at that? My big, beautiful bill has passed the House of Representatives. It's so big, it's so beautiful, it's the best bill. I love how Stephen Miller goes to immediately complain about every Democrat voting against the big beautiful bill. We're getting to the contents of this bill, but this bill is like fucking dog shit. Like there was a lot of concessions that both Trump and Mike Johnson had to give to various factions within the Republican Party in order to be able to get this like complete dreck nonsense to be able to be passed. But we'll get into the contents of it, right? So, if we recall correctly, we'll just go like through a simple summary. A lot of the problems with this bill throughout various factions were there was a faction of Republicans who did not like the fact that the bill was going to cut what is it, Medicaid, was going to cut Medicare, not Medicaid, but was going to cut Medicare by about $880 billion. And the reasoning for that is because in those cuts, no, those Republicans in those seats, they are in more purple districts, saying like, hey, if you cut too aggressively, we're going to have some problems here. Because my Democratic opponents are going to be easily able to campaign off of that and are going to be able to get easy wins as a result, which is true. And a lot of the more fiscal hawks, as they're called, basically people who just hate you for existing and just want to cause as much suffering as possible. I think that's probably the best way to sort of describe them. The people that just want to see you suffer basically said, like, well, we don't like the American people getting any form of handouts anywhere, so we're going to make it such that it is as hard as possible for them to get as any form of, like, social assistance on the planet. So those are pretty much the two sort of main, I would say, factions. Yeah, I think factions is correct to say within the Republican Party that were sort of like giving a bunch of problems. We'll say problems to like Mike Johnson and whatnot in terms of trying to pass this bill. But let's see, what do we have in the bill? What's in the bill? Tax cuts to mass deportations. Oh boy, the only things that the Republicans have ever cared about. Trump's big, beautiful spending bill from tax cuts to mass deportations. All the key points, huh? So, Republican controlled House of Representatives on Thursday passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which would enact Donald Trump's taxation spending priorities. The legislation will now be considered in the Senate, where the Republican majority will probably make its own changes. So, yeah. Keep in mind, nobody likes this bill. Both in the House and in the Senate, nobody liked the bill. And there was a bunch of concessions that were made. So here's the beginning of it. So the tax cuts from 2017 during Trump's initial term that are going to be extended. So if we take a look at that, Trump tax cuts 2017, which are just a tax cut law that just completely favored the rich. So, from the center on budget and policy priorities. The Trump tax cut law was skewed to the rich, expensive, and failed to deliver on its promises. Was skewed to the rich, so households with incomes in the top 1% will receive an average tax cut of more than $60,000 in comparison to 2025, compared to an average tax cut of less than $500 for households in the bottom 60%, according to the Tax Policy Center. As a share of after-tax income, tax cuts at the top, for both households in the top 1% and the top 5%, are more than triple the value of the tax cuts received with peoples with the incomes in the bottom 60th percent or percentile. So what? That this would cost 1.9 trillion. So besides the fact that this is not an actual tax cut, it's inflationary. It's also going to cause the deficit to go up as well. So that's cool. So what? 2017 tax cut law would cost $1.9 trillion over 10 years. Recent estimates show that the law's temporary individual income and estate cuts permanent would cost another $400 billion a year beginning in 2027. So, hey, Republicans, I thought these people, what happened? I thought these guys were all about fiscal responsibility. What happened? What's going on here? That's strange. These seem to be very inflationary and making the deficit go up. What happened? And yeah, it's not delivering any of the economic benefits. So what? It's a Trump administration official claimed their centerpiece corporate tax rate cut would very conservatively lead to a $4,000 boost in household income. New research shows that workers who earned less than about $114,000 on average in 2016 saw no change in earnings from the corporate tax rate cut, while top executive salaries increased sharply. Hey, whoa, wait, well, how? Like, I thought trickle down economics was effective. I thought that was like, I thought that was like the shit. Like, that was like the thing, man. Whoa, I thought that was like, pretty much the tell all be all of like, what happened? What happened? What happened? Oh, it turns out that's just complete fucking nonsense and bullshit. Who would have thought that this tax cut was dog shit? So after taking office in 2017, and by the way, this is like pretty much the only thing Trump signed into law was this dog shit tax cut bill, but whatever. Trump signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which lowered taxes and increased the standard deduction of all taxpayers, and generally benefited high earners more than most. Those provisions are set to expire after this year, but the big beautiful bill makes them permanent, which while increasing the standard deduction by $1,000 for individuals, $1,500 for head of households. What the fuck does that mean? And $2,000 for married couples, albeit only through 2028. Oh, see, so that's really funny. So these things are set to expire after fucking Trump leaves office, so he gets the full fucking political benefits from it. Fucking sneak. What? I'm just a sneaky little guy. Oh boy. An array of new tax write-offs, but only while Trump is president. Speaking of which, the bill creates many new tax exemptions, several of which stem from promises Trump made while campaigning last year. Taxpayers will be able to write off income from tips and overtime, and interest made on loans for cars assembled in the United States. People aged 65 and over are eligible for an additional deduction of $4,000, provided their adjusted gross income does not exceed $75,000 for single filers or $150,000 for married couples. But all of these incentives expire at the end of 2028, right before Trump's term as president ends. And guess what? That means now, when the tax cuts do go through, what does that mean? When the effects of the tax cuts actually start to happen, who's going to be the ones left holding the bag? It's going to be the fucking Democrats. And are they going to be able to properly sort of deal with I guess the ones being I guess the holders of the bag in this particular instance? Probably not. Like, they're going to fucking fumble it. Because again, like, you want to know how you get rid of these fucking tax cuts, because these tax cuts are fucking dog shit. Well, it's only passed through the House. Who knows if it'll pass through the Senate? What changes will be made in the Senate, right? Yeah, I have to wait and see what happens, because again, I know a lot of senators were also not happy with a lot of the provisions in here as well. So there's that. There's also the whatchamacallit. I forgot what I was gonna say. No biggie. There was also the of some of the other stuff that we're also going to go in as well, but I forgot what I was gonna say. Shit. Oh well. Moving on. An expanded SALT deduction. So guess what? Originally, Mike Johnson did not want to expand the SALT deductions at all, but he decided to cave into the a lot of the more frontline, I guess, district Republicans, a lot more of these purple district Republicans who are just like, hey, if you don't, like, give us something at all, we're probably going to get completely pummeled in the upcoming, like, midterm elections. So in addition to paying federal taxes, Residents of many states must also pay state and local taxes, or SALT. Prior to 2017, they could deduct these payments on their federal returns, but the tax law Trump signed that year capped these deductions to $10,000, an amount taxpayers in states with high SALT burdens such as New York, New Jersey, and California often exceed. Because, whoa, it turns out if you have a lot more sort of, not provisions, but social safety measures, you get taxed more, but guess what you get, generally speaking, in return? Generally speaking, you get better quality of life. And guess what? In those states, the quality of life is better. House Republicans who represent districts in those states spent weeks demanding that the big beautiful bill increase that limit and succeeded. The bill passed by the House, raising the deduction to $40,000 per year, which I know is something that Mike Johnson definitely did not want. Because, probably not even Trump wanted that, because he just wants the blue states to suffer. We all know, like, the sort of attitude that these motherfuckers have on, like, blue states. They hate the blue states. What else do we have here? Money for mass deportations and a border wall, because they really need the fucking border wall fucking shit. It's so stupid, we need the big beautiful wall, of course, and our big beautiful bill. Very important that we have our big beautiful bill with our big beautiful wall, don't we, folks? Very, very important. As part of Trump's plan to remove undocumented immigrants from the country, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, will receive $45 billion for detention facilities, $14 billion for deportation operations, and billions of dollars more to hire an additional 10,000 new agents by 2029. Great. Listen, folks, we can't give you health care. We can't give the taxpayer health care, but we can do everything possible to essentially make life as insufferable as possible for minorities that exist in the country, can't we, folks? More than $50 billion is allocated for the construction of new border fortifications, which apparently the U.S. really needs for some reason. Sure, man. Which will probably include a new wall along the border with Mexico. I thought Mexico was going to pay for the border wall. What happened? And immigrants hoping to claim asylum or otherwise seek relief through immigration courts will face a host of new fees that advocates say may keep them out of the country altogether. Whoa. Crazy. They have to also fit in their dumbass fucking xenophobic goddamn policies as well in here somehow. Fantastic. Oh, this was the other thing I wanted to mention with the point earlier with the 2017 tax cut. You want to know what had the highest raise in the fucking deficit? This 2017 fucking tax cut. And guess what? That fucking, making that shit permanent is going to raise that fucking federal deficit up even more. Guys, who's ready for the U.S. to potentially default on their debts and potentially make the world collapse as a result? Who's ready for a potential, new depression? Let's go, boys. Who's ready? I am so ready for the new depression. Let's go. All these tax breaks and other spending come with a major cost. Congress's nonpartisan fiscal scorekeeper, the Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, estimates the bill's tax policies alone will add nearly $3.8 trillion to the federal deficit. What's the U.S.'s current deficit? What is the U.S.'s current deficit? What is it? What's the national deficit? I just want a number. So this would be what? 2020? This 2024? It was in 2024. It was 1.8 trillion. Woof. That's a lot of deficit spending that's being done here by the Trump administration. That's cool. What's the national deficit? What's the federal deficit? Deficit tracker. Oh, this is monthly by monthly. Yeah, that's monthly by month. 1.3 billion, 1,037 billion, thousand cumulative fiscal year deficit was 1.1 trillion at the end of April 2025, 13% higher. Oh, and these tax cuts are only going to raise that by another 3.8 trillion. That's going to blow out like 2020 out of the water. Which, guess who was in power in 2020? Oh, it was Trump. Now, to be fair, a lot of deficit spending had to be done for COVID. Same with 2021. This is because of COVID. So, I'll grant Trump and Biden both of that. But with this proposed tax bill, this is going to skyrocket to almost 5 trillion. So, hey, I'm not going to say anything, but if the fucking US potentially defaults on its debt because of this shit, oh boy, that's going to be great, wonderful fun. Fantastic. Very good. And what? I think as well, we're also going to take a look, well, because of now, since we're talking about the deficit, something I thought was really, really funny. This is from Jim McGovern, and I forget the name of the other guy that he's talking to. It's all about fucking PAYGO shit. So if I were to talk... So the basics on PAYGO, which is a thing that I really dislike. I do not like PAYGO. But PAYGO is basically the idea that everything has to be deficit neutral. So you have to be able... And it was something that was implemented by Obama and Pelosi. Saying, like, deficit spending always has to be completely neutral. So here's the thing. I don't have a lot of problems with a lot of deficit spending if it's deficit spending on stuff that is good. The thing is that what the Republicans are currently trying to deficit spend on is mostly bad. The SALT deduction stuff, I think, is fine. Whatever. This is fucking stupid. And this is also fucking stupid. Tax cuts for the rich, and whoa, more money for the stupid border wall. So far, probably about like 20% of this deficit spending is probably okay. And let's not even get into the fact that, yeah, in order to justify this fucking deficit spending, yeah, guess what? They're going after social safety nets and stuff like that. But yeah, as a result of PAYGO, because this shit is definitely not deficit neutral, there's a lot of statewide provisions that are going to be triggered. PAYGO provisions that are going to be triggered as a result. Thus, causing cuts in a lot of social safety programs, specifically in Medicare and in SNAP. So they're going to face cuts because of all the deficit spending that the Republicans are doing. So they're not actually technically cutting these social safety programs, even though they are. They are also cutting them. By effect, what they can say is like, whoa, what do you mean? We gave you this huge tax cut for the middle class and everything, and we didn't go cutting into the social safety. Now, what do you mean? We didn't do that at all. It's not our problem that these, like, PAYGO things happened. That's because of the, of all the deficit spending that only the Democrats did. Even though, like, generally speaking, you want to know who are the people that tend to blow up the deficit more and more? Oh, it's the Republicans. Crazy. Who would have thought? Well, let's take a look at this clip.
As you know, statutory PAYGO, which stands for pay-as-you-go, is a law that requires tax cuts and spending increases to be offset, meaning that they do not add to the deficit. If at the end of the year congressional legislation collectively violates PAYGO, those deficit effects trigger across-the-board cuts to programs like Medicare. Does this bill trigger statutory PAYGO?
Yes, and it's not me saying it. It is the Congressional Budget Office confirming it as of a couple hours ago. And look, this is...
Hey, Republicans, what's up with this, huh? You doing all of your deficit spending here to justify cuts to Medicare through a really roundabout way, through a really sneaky way, so then you don't have to deal with any of the potential consequences of that? Well.
This is really the breaking news, because when the Budget Committee kicked off this process approximately 3 months ago, there was a commitment by President Trump that there would be no Medicare cuts in this piece of legislation. And indeed, over the last several months, there's been no discussion of Medicare at all. There has been of Medicaid. but not of Medicare. Well, here we are tonight because, as you explained, because of the size of the deficits, because of the pay-go or pay-as-you-go act, that would trigger sequestration of Medicare, and it would total over $500 billion. The official figure that CBO confirms is $535 billion in cuts to Medicare.
And this.
So this is what I mean by it is an incredibly sort of like sneaky roundabout way of cutting into Medicare. I mean, we know the reasoning for as to why they're doing this. They're doing this because they hate the poor. They hate the poor. Let's be honest here. That like there's no other like hyperbole or anything. Like I don't think we're being like ridiculous or hyperbolic when we're saying like the only reason why these motherfuckers are doing the things that they're doing is because they hate you. They hate you. They hate you. They hate you. So broadly speaking, the purposes behind these cuts should be fairly self-evident. They want to go after your Medicaid. They want to go after whatever like remaining social safety nets in order to justify their dumbass like tax cuts for the rich. That's the point.
This bill doesn't wait.
So yeah, they want to trigger the pay-go stuff so they can say like, oh, wait, hold on. In reality, this wasn't actually us. We didn't do this. No. What do you mean? Our hands are clean. And then all of the cuts start happening, and then they can use this as like a political cudgel to say like, look at the Democrats. Look at life getting worse for you under the Democrats. You know, standard fucking Republican bullshit.
Statutory pay-go.
No, it does not.
So this will have a direct impact on Medicare and the federal budget, which is, again, I think a lot of people who are not following this as closely as you are probably are not aware of and will be surprised to learn about tomorrow. Chairman Hill.
Yep. There's no fucking way nobody knows about any of this shit, okay? I guarantee you, nobody knows about this shit. So, that's cool. Thank you, fucking Pelosi and Obama, for putting in fucking pay-go. Fantastic. Excellent. Because we have to do, like, stupid LARPy... Because I'm not only... Don't get it twisted. I'm obviously going to do significant amount of blame for the Republicans on this one, because they're the ones that are basically doing this, like, sneaky, underhanded shit in order to get... to do cuts to social safety net programs. In a very, very roundabout way, so they don't have to have any of the blame for this. But I'm also putting about as much blame on the Democrats for this one, for being the main fucking morons that were deciding to push for this fucking shit. So, guess what? Their hands are not clean from this either. What else do we have in here? What do we got? A potentially potent restriction on federal courts. Trump supporters routinely attack judges who rule against him, and the bill includes a provision that prohibits federal courts from enforcing contempt citations related to temporary restraining orders or preliminary injunctions. At least one federal judge appears ready to issue such a citation in a high-profile immigration case, including the administration. Erwin Chemerinsky, the dean of the University of California, Berkeley's School of Law, wrote that judges could get around the provision for future cases, but hundreds of existing court orders covering all sorts of subjects, including the many lawsuits against Trump's policies, would become unenforceable. Again, so far, the only thing that's been trying to sort of, beat back the tides of fascism, quote unquote, besides has just been the courts and the judiciary, because we all know the fucking Democrats are not doing anything to save anyone. They're being completely fucking abstemious, worthless, dreck, nonsense. So far, it's just been the courts that are just trying to be have been the most effective sort of people that are pushing back against this. And obviously, we all know that Trump wants to be a mad king who has all the power for himself. So, guess what? He's going to do everything possible in order to be like, well, actually, I don't like the fact that people are trying to enforce the rule of law on me, so, you know what? Screw you. I don't like you guys. You guys kind of stink. So that's cool. That's great. It's fantastic. Very good and cool. Transformed social safety net programs. Republicans have attempted to cut down on the bill's costs by slashing two major safety net programs: Medicaid, which provides health care to poor and disabled Americans, and the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP, aka food stamps, which helps people afford groceries. Both are in for funding cuts, as well as new work requirements. The idea that you need to have like people working in order to fucking, because for whatever reason, this is like an attitude that the fucking Republicans still have. This is like shit from fucking Reagan, okay? This is like shit from the fucking 80s. This attitude that these fucking monsters have, saying like, well, you know, we all know about all these fucking black people who are on they fucking goddamn food assistance programs, sitting there chilling on day ass, not working, just surviving off of the government's dole, getting fucking steak or some shit, right? We know the fucking propaganda, we know the fucking meme, right? And both are in for funding cuts. The Urban Institute think tank believes, based on the analysis of a similar policy, they can remove as many as 5.2 million people from Medicaid, while the left-leaning Center on Budget and Policy Priorities forecasts that about a quarter of SNAP recipients could leave the program, or nearly 11 million people. Ah, yes. If there's one thing I love more than anything from my populist conservatives, it's making people suffer for no reason. Very, very cool and good. Because again, I've said this before, there is no such thing as a fucking populist conservative. That's a complete farce. It's nonsensical. These people don't actually fucking exist. They just want to cause, well, your life misery. And they just want you to suffer. That's the whole point of all of this. Suffering, misery, just suffer. Forehead. More benefits to the rich than the poor. Wealthier taxpayers appear set to receive more benefits from this bill than poorer ones. Taxpayers with the highest incomes will see their household resources increase by 4% in 2027 and 2% in 2033, largely due to the extended tax cuts. So those are the 2017 tax cuts we were covering before. The CBO estimated earlier this week. The poorest taxpayers would see their resources drop by 4% in 2023. Great. So guess what? Those motherfuckers that were already having to fucking get like 3 to 4 fucking jobs, or 2 to 3 jobs in order to survive, looks like you're gonna have to get another one. You're gonna have to keep working. And also on this, by the way, with all the dumbasses that are talking about work requirements, some people just can't work. Like, if you're disabled, in some instances, simply put, you just can't work. It is just how it is. Like, cope, seethe, and mauled about it. Some people are just too disabled to work. It is what it is. Shit just fucking happened to them in their lives, or whatever. You can say, like, come up with, like, whatever reasonings for as to what that happened. I know people like that. Shit happened in their fucking lives. And there's nothing they can do about it. These are simply meant to just do one thing and one thing only, and that is to just get people removed off of the rolls. Because, again, it's all about justification of tax cuts for the rich. That's it. That's all that these things have ever been, and that's all they will ever be. So, you know, what the heck happened to Reno, to my based populist conservative Neurinos? They never fucking existed. And, of course, as I've said before, these people all hate climate change. Oh, and yeah, another thing I was going to also mention about these fucking, like, work requirements. All the motherfuckers that are currently on SNAP and whatnot, they're already working. They're working to be able to pay off their other bills, right? Like, sure, this makes, like, food easier to afford, but guess what you also have to afford? Your car. Your insurance for your car, your gasoline for your car. These are all things that are expensive. Rent. You think that these people have rent assistance? Fuck no. Rent. So guess what? All the motherfuckers that are currently on SNAP or Medicaid, they're all already working. So there's like no point in doing any of this stuff. It's just for, I don't know, the purpose of just being callous. That's really all I can think of, to be honest. So yeah, the end of Biden's green energy incentives, because again, these people don't care if any of you die in climate change. In fact, they are on the side of climate change. Let's be honest here. The bill would phase out tax incentives created by Congress during Joe Biden's presidency meant to encourage consumers and businesses to use electronic cars and other clean energy technology. Credits for cleaner cars will end this year, and incentives for wind and solar energy will only be available for projects that begin construction 60 days after the bill's enactment and enter service by 2028. Clean energy manufacturing tax credits will be axed by 2031, while Americans seeking to upgrade their homes to cleaner or more energy efficient appliances will get no further subsidy after the end of this year. It's all about drill, baby, drill, because climate change. What's that? I don't know what that is. I've heard about it. I think it's like a hoax or something. I don't know. People have been telling me that like this thing called climate change. I don't know really what it is. I don't get how it works, but people are saying it's a thing. But I don't know. I don't necessarily believe them, folks. What can I tell you? I don't think it should really get any more obvious than this. It's because this sort of anti-climate change agenda that these fucking complete morons have. But same old fucking bullshit. And an increase to the debt ceiling. So, who's ready for a potential collapse of the U.S. on its debt? Oh boy. Again, Republicans, I thought you people were the party of fiscal responsibility. What happened? Why do you guys seem to always be the party that increases the debt and the deficit? So yeah, there's also an increase to the debt ceiling. So the U.S. government's authority to borrow, known as the debt limit, will increase by $4 trillion. Earlier this month, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicted the government would hit the limit by August. Yeah, because of tax cuts to the rich. Again, like I said before, I don't have a problem with debt and deficit spending if it's being done on good stuff. Most of the stuff that this is being done on, besides the SALT deduction stuff, is just bullshit. It's mostly just crap. So I'm gonna have a problem with most of the stuff that's going to be going on here. So that's cool. At which point it could default on its debt and spark a financial crisis. Hey. You want to know what could potentially take care of that? Maybe if you stop these fucking tax cuts for the rich, primarily speaking, as we saw before, it's not going to deliver on any of the benefits, and it's just deficit spending to justify tax cuts for the rich. Maybe, just maybe, the U.S. won't default on its debt as a result. I don't know. This is just some food for thought. Trump, Scott, well, I don't know. And of course, all the new tax write-offs. I'm just saying, a lot more benefits for the rich than the poor. Seeing their household resources are mostly going to increase with the highest incomes. I don't know, guys. Seems pretty obvious to me that, this big beautiful bill is complete dog shit. I know that there was plenty of fucking concessions that Trump had to give to a lot of people. Same with Mike Johnson. I know that basically nobody is happy with this bill. No one likes this bill. Everyone hates this bill. But guess what? They had to go through with it. There was no other choice, because otherwise, what could have happened instead, if I'm correct on this, it would have basically caused maybe not a constitutional crisis. It would have caused a complete budget fight, budget crisis. I'm not sure what the correct term is here. Government shutdown. That's the term I'm looking for. So that's cool and excellent and fantastic. But yeah, dude, like I said before, deficit spending is fine. The problem is what's the deficit spending mostly happening on? Oh, tax cuts for the rich and cuts to fucking social safety programs. That's the main fucking problem that I have with all of this. But, have Republicans ever cared about any of this shit? No, they just want you to suffer. That's it. It's all about the suffering. We love our fiscally responsible Republicans, don't we, ladies and gentlemen? They're our favorite people on the planet. Yay. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's just, I don't know. Should I be surprised at all by the fact that, oh, wow, This budget proposal is just here to make you suffer and benefit the rich. Crazy. Who would have thought such a thing could be possible? Hey, looking at you, all of you Republican voters. Very, very important. We're getting our keys out. We're gonna jingle them. We're gonna get their attention. Jingle the keys. Jingle the keys. If you ever thought for a fucking second that conservative politicians, that these Republicans, ever had your interests at heart, take a look at some of these articles talking about these bills. They're going to be all over the news. But you hate mainstream news, don't you? Take a quick look at some of the provisions. I can send simple summaries, okay? I have no problem with that. We can send the simplest of simple summaries, right? They're out and about. You can find them. The point of all of this is rather simple. Republicans don't like you. Conservative politicians never liked you. There's no such thing as a fucking right-leaning populist. This is what the Republican modus operandi has always been about. Being beneficial to the rich. Always, 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 without any exceptions. Simply put. So I know I'm sort of like preaching to the choir here, because I know like why aren't you telling the Democrats to do anything? What the fuck are they gonna do? Those guys are completely worthless. Like, they're a non-factor in any of these like considerations. Who cares about the Democrats? They're completely worthless. Who gives a shit about anything they have to do or say? Non-factors. Who cares about them? They're worthless. But I need people to understand. I need specifically Republicans to understand this. This is pretty much the modus operandi. What is to be expected from Republican governance, without fail, every single time. And until you people can learn this, this same shit will keep happening over and over and over again. I keep saying, like, what's the name of that dumbass fucking, the dumbass meme? Fell for it again award. Because guess what? The Fell for it again award seems to keep constantly applying to these people. Every single time. Whoa, why am I not seeing any potential benefits later on in my life? What's going on with like my kids? Why do they fucking hate me? This is why, because you keep supporting a bunch of rich assholes who don't care about this, but guess what? They jingled keys in front of you enough, they did a little bit of jingling of the keys, talk about stupid cultural bullshit, and in the meanwhile, you are allowing them to get away with some of the most wretched, decrepit dog shit to ever be possibly proposed. And you're wondering, like, oh, why does my family not like me? This is why. Not to mention how, like, a lot of these cuts to, like, to Medicaid stuff can also affect minority populations. I think, like, this is a point I saw by Doe, or Exiliacs. Medicaid cuts affect trans people. Here we go. House passes tax bill that would ban Medicaid from covering transition-related care. The bill would also prohibit marketplace plans available under the Affordable Care Act from covering transgender care as an essential health benefit. Because, guess what? Sometimes, depending on the situation, it is an essential health benefit for transgender people to get their fucking care. Sorry to say, it is essential sometimes. That's just how it fucking works out. The body's a weird, wonderful thing sometimes. But again, none of these people care about any of that. It's all about just causing suffering for the sake of fucking suffering. So that's cool. Fantastic. Excellent. So keep in mind, you are for, and you are okay with a lot of people suffering for basically no fucking reasoning. Like, how else am I supposed to interpret this besides that? So hopefully, conservatives are happy with, I don't know, literally like Klaus Schwab posting, you will eat the bugs and you will be happy and you will own nothing. Quite literally. Because this is what this shit quite literally will cause as a consequence. You will eat the bugs and you will own nothing and you will be happy. So, for all the times these morons like to say that the left are like the main like sort of Klaus Schwab posters or whatever the fuck bullshit, it seems like the right love to do everything possible to sort of make that a reality. But, I'm probably speaking to deaf ears here at this point with all the points that I'm broadly speaking raising here. So is this going to be like effective in terms of like telling these people like, hey, you guys are quite literally voting against your own interests? Probably not, but hey, better to preach to the choir than to preach, or not preach to the choir, to preach to the void, to preach to the nothingness, to the ether, than to preach to no one. Speak to whoever will listen. But this is quite literally what these current tax cuts are going, what this current bill is going to be pushing for. It's not going to benefit you. It may in the very short term, but in the long term, as has been said, in the part with the resource decreases, taxpayers with the highest incomes will see their household resources increase by 4% in 2027 and 2% in 2033. Meanwhile, the poorest taxpayers would see their resources drop by 4% in 2033. Your material conditions are going to get worse from stuff like this, especially with the extent of the tax cuts in 2017. We've already taken a look at what's in them. It's not good for people. It's not good. But this is what's going to happen if you keep supporting Republicans, because again, what's been the modus operandi for every single Republican politician? To protect big business at all costs. We know this, but will the American electorate sort of learn? Hopefully, maybe. Knowing them, probably not. But listen, gotta keep saying this stuff. Sort of, I don't know, like ringing the bells, saying like, hey, dink donk, pay attention. This is what's gonna happen until the cows come home or whatever. But this is what's gonna, broadly speaking, gonna happen, and it's only gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse before it gets any better, unfortunately. But gotta keep fighting. Gotta keep fighting to see if any good outcome can come of any of this stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Can't really think of anything else to say besides I fucking hate Republicans so much, dude. Hate them.